Hi and welcome back. I'm Caroline. Here's my buddy Zor. And welcome back to Everything Horses and More YouTube channel and video library. So here's our last video for this month's theme of riding smart, riding naturally, and riding well. Part 4, we're going to be talking about technique, the importance of technique, but also how to work on technique. I think that's even more important because we all want to learn technique. And I think most of our horse training videos are too technical to begin with or too mechanical. So we're going to talk about technique, and because it's the last video to this month's theme, it is also the last thing you should begin focusing on. At least that's the way I feel, believe, and the way that I teach and train. So in last week's learning, we discussed the third important area to learning how to ride smart, naturally, and well, and that was the importance of an approach. Your approach when you ride, your approach to connecting with your horse, and either teaching them, schooling them, developing them, training them. Today we'll be discussing and demonstrating the fourth and last area of our learning, and that's our technique, the technique of riding. There's a lot of technique to riding. So as I keep talking, this month I've dedicated videos each week to the principles and building blocks, the ABCs of learning how to ride smart, naturally, and well. I've selected one major perspective each week and focused on what's important to our confidence as a rider so we can create positive learning experiences with our riding partners, our horse. So for today's video, Training Success in 5 Minutes or Less, and our last principle to this month's theme, we are focusing on developing one specific technique to riding well. So technique is defined as a skillful, artful, or effective way of doing or achieving something. Learning a technique or skill does not happen quickly either. It requires time, study, and practice, and refinement. Everybody has their own technique, right? When it comes down to it. I'm trying to emphasize what works best for your horse, what's the most natural, and what is the easiest, what works well. What's the easiest way, the most natural way for you to use your rein aids to communicate, to connect and communicate your request with your horse. There's a million different ways we're taught. You know, some of us are taught to pull and make it happen. Doesn't matter what discipline, style of riding, or experience, you all are still pulling way too much. If you wanted to refine the technique of contact with your rein aid and connecting and communicating with your horse so that it was more seamless, fluid, natural when you are steering them in a particular direction, that's where we'll take the technique and refine it and break down the pieces of the technique, the mechanics or the building blocks. And so let me ask you this. Have you ever had a riding lesson where you felt confused, overwhelmed, or frustrated by your instructor? Perhaps your instructor was teaching you a specific technique that either you didn't understand or you felt rushed to learn and perfect. I can say most of my students have definitely been there, and I certainly have been there myself. Too often, we are taught to focus on too many technical pieces without learning how to break them down, connect the dots, and refine the mechanics. Too much information is thrown at us and not enough preparation, resulting in what? Confusion, frustration, despair, lack of confidence. Worse yet, we frustrate and confuse our horses, and accidents happen. I totally believe that this happens because of two reasons. One, our instructors don't know how to teach. They're not good teachers. Just because they can do something well or get it done doesn't mean they can teach it well. And the second is they don't know what they are teaching. You want somebody that's going to teach you the basics, the building blocks, the foundation. You really do. Or it's going to always end up being mechanical, So I have found 8 steps that you can use as a great guide to mastering technique that I want to share with you. And then Zora and I are going to demonstrate one specific riding technique. We're going to show it to you as a whole, what it looks like, how it should look like, and then I'm going to break down the pieces of that technique. So the first step to mastering technique is number 1, understanding the fundamentals. The second step is practicing and mastering. Number 3, get immediate feedback from an expert, the horse. Number 4, embrace your mistakes. Number 5, slow down. Slow down your deliberate practice. Pay attention to the pieces of it, the mechanics, the motion of it. Become skilled. Number 6, complete numerous repetitions. Number 7, take breaks during each practice session. So that's a big point. So often, I was just mentioning, we take riding lessons and our instructors just yelling out one cue, one command, one thing after the other. And you're like just trying to figure out one specific technique and they're asking you to do several more. So work on one specific technique, and I'm going to explain and demonstrate that in a little bit. And number 8, track your success. Always track your success. So remember, make every moment with your horse purposeful and teachable. And before we sign off, what can you do with your horse that creates training success in 5 minutes or less? I'm going to give you a bunch of building blocks, and you can work on each building block, or one at a time. And then number 2, what are you doing with your horse that keeps developing the foundation of knowledge, skill, and partnership? Remember, this is a snippet for our YouTube channel. The full-length video is found in my Everything Horses and More video library. Thank you. May you always be one with your horse. You're going to learn a lot of these pieces. You will have access to learning all of these pieces in my new beginner rider course that will be launching soon. So be ready. We will be advertising it on our YouTube channel. And of course, if you guys want to learn everything, my Mastery Membership Foundation Riding Foundation program offers it all. From start to finish, ground to riding. It is the largest horse-human developmental program available. No one else does what I do. It includes everything that I include. All right, big boy. So here we go. All right, so our technique that we're going to work on is sitting the trot. Sitting the sitting trot. How many times do we go from a walk to a trot and we feel like the horse just falls into the trot? They rush into it, they get fast. The falling is they're too forward and they throw you forward, and it just feels awful. So the opposite of that is when the horse uses the hind end and literally, like I'm using my body, picks himself up and pushes you into that movement. And that's called a collected canter too. So I'm always starting out thinking about that. You know, I'm not going to get into a big warm-up right now, and even in my warm-ups, I'm like, okay, let's just get free and loose and straight and just get real relaxed and loose, right? We're warming up at our walk, Zor. And then as I begin to ask for a little bit more, I'm going to be slowly pushing his hindquarters more underneath of me. So all of this is preliminary. This stuff has to happen for you to really work on a safe sitting trot, especially in a bareback pad, a safe sitting trot, and to be able to ask the horse into just a few strides of trot and back down into a nice, big, loose, relaxed walk again. I have an advantage, as you would, riding a horse like Zor, because he's so big, there's so much horse underneath of you. It's really hard to lose your balance on a horse like this. Really hard. It's really easy to stay balanced for anyone on a horse like this because he's so big. Okay, come here, my love. Come here, handsome. I'm getting on this side today. Last week I got on the other side. Yeah, oh, you're so good. Can you get a little closer for Mama? Thank you, just don't push me off. Good, that's very nice. Thank you, Bix. Let's go. Good boy, good boy. Very nice turn. I appreciate the level of response. Come, let's get a nice, big, energetic walk. Get your energy. Energy. That's one piece, right? One piece. Hi, Lando. Hi, cutie. Lando's still mesmerized when I ride. What are you doing up there on those horses? Okay, so I would spend a little bit more time at my walk and warming up, but we are going to just execute a nice sitting trot. Good boy. There you go. Go ahead and stretch. Good boy. Horse can't put his nose on the ground if he's not balanced because he will fall forward. That is the truth and the science of it. So it's when they can start stretching and not skip a beat, not lose their regularity or their tempo, their rhythm. Good. Horse that is not balanced will fall forward, literally trip, rush into a trot to pick themselves up because their forehand is heavier than their hind end. All right, so let's do 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I'm going to keep trotting so you guys can see what it should look like. Come on. Yep, good boy. Come. Good. Yep. Good. Relax. Good. Yep, good. Just keep your trot. How do you maintain your seat? Come on. If we just focused on my butt, how do I keep my seat and not bounce? That's really important. That's what we want to learn, especially if we want to canter. We don't want that butt leaving the horse's back or saddle. We don't want any air. You're going to do damage to your horse's back. Every beginner should learn this because you'll just keep going back to the basics. You really just keep going back to the basics. That's the fun of it. You always are learning and refining and mastering. Thank you.